everybody. My name is Emmanuel Ukoha. As she said, I'm a technical consultant with Sapphire Systems based in London, but I actually work from Lagos, Nigeria, so I work remotely. As a technical consultant, we implement financial management systems for firms both situated in the UK, US. Some companies are also in Dubai. So different countries that use financial management systems. And one of the financial management systems we deploy is InfoSun systems or ERP systems like SAP Business One. And one of the key components of deploying such systems is security. Obviously, when you hear financial always has to go with security because money is involved. So that happens to be my day-to-day job as a technical consultant, deploy and make sure that it is secure, it is fast, and it's also delivering what it should do. And that is the basis for my topic today, securing web application. Before I share my screen, I'll just go down a little bit into that rabbit hole of security. It is one of the most fundamental parts in IT, and it's also one of the overlooked part of IT. So you see that there is no balance at the moment. It's fundamental at the same time. It's kind of overlooked. And why do I say it's overlooked is because even till tomorrow, things like ransomware is still a problem that organizations are battling, enterprises are battling. Different solutions are still battling things like ransomware to show you that security, even though a fundamental key in IT, is also still not deeply utilized to make sure that solutions that are deployed are safe. I'll be sharing my screen now for me to start off my presentation. Okay, all right. If you can see my screen, just tell me.
Yeah. Oh yes, we can see. We can see you now.
All right. So, obviously, the topic is securing web application. Right? First of all, I want to talk about the like a brief definition of exactly what security is about. That's why I said, what is the essence of web security, right? So the quick definition is web security is important to keeping hackers and cyber thieves from accessing sensitive information. Now, without the proactive security strategy, businesses risk this. Yeah. So the different components that come into play when it comes to security, we're talking about both the past and the present. Over time, over the years, we have come into with the HTTP, the HTTPS. We have talked about things like the SSL. We have talked about the TLS and all of that. And these are the communication items that we use, to send and receive information over the internet. So the whole idea is how can we utilize them when developing our softwares. Now, for the past, the HTTP, this is the very foundation of the internet. The bed here shows the summary of what the HTTP does. You type in your browser, you send out the message, just like a bird that's flying. The bird flies to grab the message or deliver the message and flies back. So that's how information has always been flying. What does HTTP mean? It's already there. It's the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Now, the basics of what the HTTP does, if you pay attention, it said the important part of the request message is the header. When we send out, maybe you type www.google.com and you hit your enter button. Once it sends out, part of the information that it sends is the header. And look at what the header contains. It contains rules such as the language type, the bulk text, the HTML image, and host address. Now, if you look at this information that it is sending out, you will see how vital it is. Because any information that has like your bulk text, your HTML image, and your host address obviously has 50% of information that can be tied to you. It could be maybe you are filling out an online form and you're giving out information about your address, your age, your marital status, and all of that. So you see that it's vital information that you are sending out. You're not just sending out a random information. You are sending information that can be used by another person to either affect positive or negative change. So whatever it is we are sending out through this HTTP is very important. But that is in the past. Why? Because in the present, we have now understood that security is vital when sending this information. The process does not change, but how secure it is over the time has changed. That is why when Google is ranking a site or a website that is run on HTTP, it ranks it very low. But Google trusts ranking sites that comes with HTTPS. So it shows you how important security is in the present. So we want to make sure that HTTP is something of the past. Now, there's this popular word, SSL. Everywhere you go, people talk SSL. And it's funny enough when I'm discussing with my colleagues sometimes, a colleague once brought up that SSL is actually non-functional, which is true. SSL used to be the standard for what was used in securing web applications. Any application that is accessing the web, SSL was the standard for securing such. But the last time that it was used was in 2015, after it was found out that there were issues with SSL. Sometimes SSL can only protect that the host address, but it might not protect the information. Sometimes there could be reverse engineering that would expose some of the information that was being sent out through the web. So some of these problems was what made SSL to be removed. But some people will tell you, oh, but SSL is still used today. That was why I put in that keyword, surprised. Yes, we have to be surprised because most people don't know that SSL is no longer functional. So what do we have on the present? What we have on the present is the TLS. Now, if you go online, obviously, yes, you will see keywords like SSL/TLS. The reason for that is TLS is the new, is the new person, is the new king, or is the one that people use now. But SSL as a word happens to be the one that is popular. So even till tomorrow, people feel like, oh, SSL is still what is being used, while in reality, TLS is what is being used to secure websites. Now, look at three main jobs of a TLS. One, encryption of data. How does encryption work? When we send out, so my name is Emmanuel, and I'm sending it to somebody that, oh, my name is Emmanuel, just as a sentence. What encryption does, obviously, as we know, is that it changes everything that I've typed into gibberish for any onlooker. So when you look at that information, there is no way you can bring out, even though you intercept it, there is no way you can use such information because it has been encrypted into gibberish words. But when the person who you have sent it to, after encrypting that connection, receives it, obviously the data is now turned into something that is readable. That is one of the main jobs of a TLS. Now, TLS also does authentication for both parties to make sure that, communicator A and communicator B are actually engaging in a communication that they've both agreed to. A good example is your WhatsApp. WhatsApp is encrypted. So if I send a WhatsApp message to a friend of mine, there's a encrypted connection that has already been set up between both of us. So make sure that anybody who encrypts or who hijacks that message will not be able to decode it. TLS also checks for data integrity, maybe your SQL, your JavaScript. Part of what TLS does, it encourages data to be as it is. So if you send out A, you receive A without such data being manipulated. So TLS presently plays a very strong role in securing the web. Now, how does it work? HTTP is still in use. It's still a technology that we use. But with this scenario, picture your HTTP like a kid who is going out to play. Maybe he's going out to meet his friend at the park. Then picture your hacker as the person who intercepts that kid on the road. Maybe hijacks him, kidnaps him, maybe steals from him, or maybe does any bodily harm. Just think about the worst case scenario of what can happen because of that kid is not being accompanied by anybody. Picture your hacker like that. Now, picture your TLS as a parent. This kid is telling the parents, I want to go to the park and play. But the parents know that, outside there, the world is a dangerous world. So what do? They accompany the child. It means that anybody who they meet, any stranger they meet on the road, the kid will feel secure because the parent is standing there. So that is just a brief analogy of how TLS and HTTP are working together to make sure that the hacker does not succeed in bringing the internet down. So HTTP will always be here, TLS will always be here. Now, what are some of the ways in which hackers are trying to make sure that the internet will always have problems? One way is through cross-site scripting. Now, this word was coined by Microsoft, obviously, and it comes into play majorly when coding with JavaScript. As you see, SSS is a vulnerability that allows an attacker to inject client-side script into a web page in order to access important information directly, impersonate the user, or trick the user into revealing important information. Now, how can this work? So, you have Google. Google is asking you for some information. You have like a Google form, or you have like a form on your website, like a contact us page, or maybe like an inquiry page. It can be any page that is just asking for input from the public. One way that they can hack into your coding is that they will be able to put in codes or scripts that when submitted will reveal information, maybe the type of server you're using, or the users or the user log on that website. It depends on what that website does. Maybe if it's a website that collects information, we don't know the type of data that particular type of website is collecting. So it's different scenarios, different results for different scenarios. But the main thing is the website in itself is asking for input from the public. One way these bad guys can come in is through cross-site scripting. But when you are coding, just because of you have installed TLS and your website is running on HTTPS is not a guarantee that, I'm safe. No. One way is by analyzing and making sure that you sanitize your code. And how can you sanitize your code? There are many resources online that we can use. For example, we have npm sanitize. It's a script that you can run on your JavaScript. Now, the whole idea is when you run it, it will help you to sanitize and make sure that you don't have any weak spots. Parameters are closed and all of that. So now, one good thing is you have to always stay updated because, for example, npm, always updates to make sure that known malwares, the ones that they have come to notice, will always be wiped out. And don't be deceived. Security will always be a problem, and there will always be a solution. That's why we have patches. We have security updates for applications like Android. So don't think that it is save one, save all. No, you always have security problems. You always have issues. You always have to be on a lookout. And that way again, that we can defend ourselves apart from sanitizing our code by running some script and also looking out for parameters that might open any port or anything. It's for us to audit our code. You audit your code and submit a script. Working with JavaScript, obviously, sometimes you might use third-party applications or third-party scripts. You always want to audit them. Don't just say, oh, I know how to do this. Bring A, bring B, join together, and you churn out something. No, make it a habit of auditing your code. Keep it as clean as possible. But put it in mind that, just as I said in my previous slide, look at your project as a kid that is always on the run. And we have had stories about parents who would take their kids to the park, but yet the kid will be kidnapped. Why did it happen? And these parents have done the good thing of escorting their kid to the park. But while in the park, the parent might get distracted. Maybe by their mobile phones. They might be on their mobile phones and somebody will just kidnap their kid without them knowing. Before they will realize it, it's too late. Picture that same scenario with your code. You have deployed a project. You have secured all the parameters. You have implemented that you feel, oh, this is what I should do. And you put your project out there. Picture yourself like that parent. Don't just feel relaxed like, oh, everything is fine. Always be paranoid. I tell people, it sounds funny, but be positively paranoid. Yes, if you're negatively paranoid, it would affect your mental health. But be positively paranoid. Don't feel comfortable. Don't feel that, oh, because I've deployed it, that is the end. No. The bad guy is also looking for you to get distracted. And once you get distracted, you start hitting where he feels will hurt the most. And that one again, apart from SSS, is SQL injection. This also comes in also as a problem for many programmers, because sometimes you might not pay attention to the production part of things. You might pay attention to the front end, and you always want to make sure that it's as beautiful as any visitor who comes in. You want to give out the best user experience. But this also is a problem, because many companies are still facing this problem till tomorrow. SQL, as here says, is a method by which an attacker exploits vulnerability in a way a database executes search queries. Attackers use SQL to gain access to unauthorized information, modify and create new user permission, or otherwise manipulate or destroy sensitive data. If any of this definition happens to a project, that is all. There's nothing you can do except you have a backup somewhere. So you see how important it is. Now, how can you defend yourself? You can just defend yourself, one, by sanitizing your code. It's very important on both angles. Always sanitize your code. Sorry for that.
Please, if you are joining in, kindly mute. Thank you.
So as I said, you should always sanitize your code. It sounds funny that we are repeating this word, sanitize your code or use code scanners. But you might want to know that the percentage of the attacks that happen maybe on an enterprise scale, or maybe web solutions, web applications, 22% is because of they have a weak password or bad access management. The higher percentage is human factor, maybe phishing mails, and maybe a link is sent out and somebody is, sometimes when there's a phishing mail and people don't, click on it mistakenly, the higher percentage makes up for such. But 22% is because of there's a weak password or a bad access management. A higher percentage at 19% also falls in for bad cyber security knowledge. It sounds big, but these things are minor things that we just have to pay attention to. every day, some of these solutions that are open source, developers are working to make sure it gets more secure. But there are some minor things that we might not pay attention to. At the end of the day, I end up jeopardizing everything. So we want to always make sure that when we are coding, we have to sanitize our code. SSL/TLS, anyone that you call it, we know what we're referring to. It's not a sort of magical wand that, once you just apply HTTPS, everything is fine. No. Or once you put a complicated password on your cPanel, everything is fine. It doesn't work that way. So your own input is very important when working on projects. You also want to put yourself in the seat of the hacker. Think like the hacker. Think like that thief. Look at how would this person want to hurt me, and what are the chances I have of stopping that from happening. We also have other ones like denial of service or DDoS attack. Obviously, that happens to be from the external angle of things. Most times it's not in your own power. So a particular website might be attacked with malicious traffic, and at the end of the day, it weighs down your server. One way in which you can protect yourself by securing web application is by implementing technologies like Cloudflare. Cloudflare will help you in terms of making sure that your DNS is well distributed. And that way again is technologies like the AWS cloud. Yes, with AWS cloud, availability domains, spreading out your servers, making sure that you're able to implement stuff like load balancing and the rest. It helps with fighting back at DDoS attack. You can't outrun some of these things. You always face it one way or the other, but you just have to put in the right strategy and that will make sure that you are able to outrun them. Data bridge, obviously, is something that, how do I put it? Most times it's not a technology, it's the person. Weak passwords, using defaults, some of these things will cause data breach. Phishing emails, some of these things are what causes data breach. So how you handle data, how do you handle passwords on your laptop? When sending out passwords among your colleagues, how do you do it? One way you can do it is a particular website that's called onetimesecret.com. It's a good website I use in my workplace when sharing passwords with a colleague. You don't just send it through chat, or maybe send it through Microsoft Teams. No, just use it through that onetimesecret.com. Upload the password there, send a link. Once the person opens it, or the password will not open. That particular file that I've shared will not open again. So how we handle data is very important. Passwords, sensitive data. When developing application, run away from generic words like admin, I don't know, those generic words that people are using. Run away from such words. Now, as we are saying, how do we stay protected? We want to make sure that you install SSL certificates. Fine. The corporate world will want you to believe that there are different types of SSL certificates based on level. But that is just for them to make money. The truth is, even SSL that is as free as let'sencrypt.com, most of you might know let'sencrypt.com, is open source, and they also offer free SSL certificates. Even such is enough when securing your website. Once you are able to install this SSL certificate, that is one way to stay protected. To make sure that any communication between your website, the web server, and the user is secure. And that way again is always update your libraries. You're working on JavaScript, for example, update your libraries. Run away from free how do I call it? Some of these libraries, they will tell you, they are free. You will get premium for free. Always run away from such. Don't be in the habit of going through the shortcuts. So you have to use only the reputable ones. Now, ensure no sensitive data about your architecture leaks. It will be your password, it will be your username. Make sure it does not leak. And how can you do that? That is how you handle your data. As I said earlier, when sharing stuff like password, don't just send it, over the air. You just send it through WhatsApp or something. No. Look for avenues that will make sure that once it gets to the person that should have it, it gets destroyed one way or the other. And so the person who will save such sensitive data know how to handle it. Avoid defaults. I've said it before. Avoid defaults, default folder, default username. Avoid them because we have some lazy hackers that will be like, okay, instead of me trying to bring down a big enterprise, let me look for some of these smaller projects. And when a lazy hacker meets a lazy coder, that is paradise because it doesn't have to search for too much. Maybe the username is admin. Oh, we'll just type it there and get it. Always audit and sanitize your codes. There are resources out there. As I said earlier, there's NPM sanitize. That's one of the best that I know about. That you can use in sanitizing your code. And they always update it. They're always updating it, putting in more parameters that they feel would breach your application. So always make sure that you stay updated. Always keep a clean backup. Yes, backup is very important. Once you have deployed successfully and your software is working, always keep a backup. You can put it for monthly, you can put it for weekly, depending on how fast your data changes. Just make sure that you are keeping a clean backup. Anything can happen. There is nobody who is a Fort Knox when it comes to security. It's an ever-going practice. Now, research vulnerabilities and engage forums like Reddit, Stack Overflow, etc. You want to make sure that you are always active. Even a forum like this also, you want to make sure that you're always active. Either pulling out information that others have shared or you yourself sharing information that you have come to know. This will help other people. One way or the other, we are all joining hands to help each other. There are forums on LinkedIn, some of these forums on Reddit, Stack Overflow, stuff like that. Those forums, what they do is to help you stay up to date. Somebody might see a bug and just report it. It's that moment you would know it is time for you to look at your code and make sure that you are safe. Sometimes some people will put and tell you, oh, you have to update your library. You would know that that is the time for you to work. And that thing again that I always advise is develop a test environment. When you deploy a web application, keep a test environment. Want to run tests, keep running tests. Don't get tired of running tests. Want to make sure that you are safe from any imminent attack. Even though you might not be 100% safe from every attack, you want to make sure that at least your risk factor is very low. So always keep a test environment. Very important, test environment.
Next, we have Kim, who's going to show us Static City app, which is an educational, Static City Maths, which is an educational app to help you learn mathematics and also teach your kids how to do maths in a fun way. I don't want to take away his time. I'm sure he has a lot to say about it. Kim, are you online?
Kim,
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Right.
Yeah, you can.
Should I take over?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. And once again, thank you for the invite, and thanks to everyone that's currently attending. It's much appreciated. I will just quickly share my screen. to see something?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. All right. So let me start with introducing myself, just to give you a bit of a brief background to who you are talking to. For those that we basically meeting for the first time. Kim, well, I'm giving you the shorter and the easiest of all the names so that you can, I can just make your life easier. But if you want to go practice at home, you can go and practice the full name. That is also fine. But it's Arnaud. Well, I actually forgot another one there. Arnaud Kim Chulu Amina, and there's another one that I forgot, but nonetheless. So I'm the founder of Keymart Studio, which is a company that focuses on consulting with startups and companies for their technology solutions, but specifically engaging around user experience. That's what we specialize in, and also gamification. When you would like to include gamification into your product and make sure that there is a lot more engagement and there's also retention onto your product. And also because of the growth of games, and each and everyone has played a game. I often make this, often ask people, have you played a game? Do you play games? And then they'll be like, no, I don't play games. And then I'm like, have you played games before? And then they're like, no, I don't think I do play games, because it seems to be very much only connected to console games, video games, and then they even forget that whenever they were young and they had Decade or any of those games, those are also games. So we've all come across games, and we've also played a few games with our family members. We've played a few games with our parents when they would want to feed us, and then they pull the spoon away, and then you move forward. Those are all games. Those are all ways of keeping you engaged into whatever activity you are doing. And that is the kind of things that we provide, and we analyze, and we look at what do you need that can actually assist you into making your product a lot more engaging. I also do lecture at TUT, and I provide the same talk or concept of what I just mentioned now. So it's at the Faculty of Art. I studied there myself, and I end up now being able to give back, which is something that I engage and provide something that's I believe is necessary to the younger generation. And I'm also currently a tech advisor. Sorry about that. I'm also a tech advisor, as well as a CTO at Ambani. For those that watched the MTN App Awards yesterday, and you saw that it was glorious and beautiful, and then they won quite a lot of awards there. I also do co-own a primary school that I started as an initiative 2 years ago back in Congo. So that is a bit of what I do, apart from lack of sleeps. But yeah. As I am supposed to talk to you guys about the platform that we currently have, the application that we currently have available, it's called Static City Maths. And the reason why it's called Static City Math is because we have a world that is static, and you are to earn well-renowned buildings. You have the Eiffel Tower, you have the Union Building, you have stadiums, you have bridges, and all those kind of things. And for you to earn and for you to own them, you need to accumulate a certain amount of virtual currency. And that virtual currency is the Static City currency, which you can only collect by answering mathematical equations correctly. And it's very much at a foundation, I would say fairly early stage, and then it gets to be a lot more complicated over time. But that's how you accumulate your currency, which is basically the point, if I put it in simple terms. So the application has got video lessons as well, and the video lessons are we worked with educators, local educators that created the content based on the curriculum locally in South Africa, and we're looking at also including next content that will be from Kenya and moving forward into other part of the continent. The videos that are there are we asked the educator, we do not want you to replace um, um, the entire lessons that is being given into classrooms. We are trying to deal with learners that want to learn as quick as possible and then still being able to go to TikTok in the next 10 minutes. So how can we then try and give them the concept in a visual manner for them to understand? And that's how the videos are set up. The very short, just definition of key concept in mathematics from grade 5 all the way to grade 9. And then on the other side, what we basically a lot focus on is the assessment part, which is the game itself. If you think about it, the whole game follows a monopoly structure. You want to earn a property, then do the equation correctly, earn point, and if you accumulate X amount of point, then you own that particular property, and that is yours. In the future, what we're then looking at is that for properties that have to do with tourism, then you can start earning point by having tourists visiting your property. Those that you can actually have tenant in there, you can actually get now money from those tenants until you can actually start growing the whole thing. So what is making our product quite interesting as well is how we are using Esports. So we created a leaderboard, which is part of our Esports section. You then able to go into the statistics section where you can see how you've done. So currently the statistic is set on addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and the speed and the accuracy. How accurate are you answering, and then how are you getting the speed correctly? Are you answering faster? And that is a way to then allow parents to, whenever the kid plays with the game, you can go back and see how is my kid doing? Where is the area where they seem to be struggling the most? And should I get additional assistance? And this is something that you are able to see and check every day as a parent. And as a parent, you don't have to go in and print out exercises for them to practice because they've got a addition test tomorrow or anything. You just send them onto the game and tell them, go to the Eiffel Tower. That is where you're going to do addition. And then afterward, you can check what they do. And you can accumulate your point, as I said. Then you can share it onto the Esport League, which every month we are rewarding learners with a certain reward. And at this current point in time, we are giving them 500 rands. The top performer gets 500 rands, and this has been running for the past 5 months. We had a first winner for the first month, and then she got taken over by another one. And one interesting aspect I would like to bring up here with how we are trying to touch lives and also trying to include ourselves in how society could be improved through technology is that this one learner that has been winning for the past 4 months is actually one from Limpopo. And you would be surprised how sometimes when we exceed by a day, she would then give a call or she would send an email and say that, hey, I just want to check if the price is still going to come. And something that is very interesting is we would be surprised and we will be very happy if we realize that that is probably a family that sometimes expects that grant from the government, And now being able to have an additional 500 rands every month because your kid is actually performing good in something that they need to improve in, or in something that they're doing well, subconsciously you are not realizing how much of an impact you're actually making into the future of that kid who is learning and who is practicing. We've had questions where people would ask us, but isn't that extrinsic motivation? And we're like, yes, it is very much extrinsic motivation to then drive you to get the learning that you need. And upon acquiring the learning that you need, you then end up becoming better. This comes also when we think about how many of us have been told, if you do not put this there, then you're not going to get ice cream afterward. Then you get driven by, oh, I'm going to get ice cream afterward. Let me then put the plate where it's supposed to be. And you pick up good habits without you knowing. And later on, you find yourself doing them without being told to do them. That is because there was an extrinsic motivation that kept on pushing you to do stuff. And in this age of technology, of TikTok, all those things are basically extrinsic motivations that you find a lot of these young people are finding themselves in and wanting, which are I need to have point. I need my videos to have thousands of views. It's people that will then give you those views for you to feel better about yourself. And that is something that we believe that applying that into education is something that is necessary. And then applying that at early stages from grade 5 is very necessary. And this comes to this point where I will then speak about the reason why we believe that is necessary. So this is this is one of the type of videos. As you will see, it's less than 2 minutes that we have. And that's it. So the video is that short. You get a brief concept about what it is, in the sense that you can have a teacher saying that for better reflection of what we've learned, go and look at the definition and remember that, and then from there you then go do the practice into the game. The application, as I've mentioned, has assessment as well as real-time feedback. The assessment, the way we've done it, we've set up that you've got one question at the time, and then you've got the same time that will be specified in an exam room, and you've got the same questions that will be specified in an exam room, and then you then have to practice for the particular exam. And every time that you don't answer correctly, you've got the zombie actually getting closer and closer to you. But whenever you answer correctly, then you can shoot them as many as possible. Then what is very interesting as well is you've got now direct feedback. Remember that at this point in time, you do usually, depend on a teacher in the, traditional school. He will mark your tests, and then he will then go and mark it, and then you will have to wait and then come back and being told you got 80%. But at this point in time, you're able to get that immediately, and then we are adding extra features to then allow you to then see which areas you were not doing well, and then either get assistance from a tutor or try again. And then practicing basics, and you win prizes, as I've mentioned. So the reason why we did this is specifically because personally I wasn't too good in mathematics myself. Sometimes I actually get surprised that God led me to end up being a game developer, and you've got all these things that are happening, and then you build product that actually supposed to be emphasizing the literacy of learners. But it's very important to realize that we've got 6 out of 10 learners that actually lack basic mathematics skills. When you look at the reports that actually comes from the organization that um, that benchmarks mathematics literacy in schools, and South Africa has entered that into that benchmark for the second time. The first time was in 2015, and the second time was in 2019. Yeah, if I'm correct, yes. And that is the latest report that has been released in 2020, where you see that 6 out of 10 do not have proper basic skills, and that's the basing it based on numeracy and based on just being able to say, if I tell you now 3 times 3, what is it? There are high difficulties to be able to do that across the country and across Southern Africa, which is a big problem. But then what got us more concerned is that we have a lot of big companies, a lot of products that go all the way to grade 12, and then they say, "Oh, now we're in grade 12. Let now prepare you to do better in mathematics now that you're in grade 12." Oh, we've got an NGO. What we focus on is that we give assistance in grade 12. We give this, we give that in grade 12, and at the same time, we are forgetting that if you want to be curing a disease when it actually matured and it's supposed to go to varsity, then I don't know what more you are curing. You're just going to keep on giving me painkillers, and then I'm just going to live for the rest of my life on painkillers. Whilst you're supposed to be fixing issues from where the problem is. We've got report from 2015, which reported the same thing, 6 out of 10. And we got report again in 2019, which reports the same thing. But what we see as solutions is let's try and assist the learners by dropping the pass rate in in mathematics and all of these, as well as assisting grade 12, which personally, with research done and what we do, we believe that we need more products that can then try and reinforce the younger kids. And because they're growing so fast, they need incentives to be able to move forward. And also looking at 40% of the single parents and overworked parents that we actually have in the country, and that is mostly women, that still have to deal with this situation. And they have all different backgrounds. But what is very interesting is that the increase in mobile consumption, at least in most households, there is at least one smartphone of a kind, and that has increased when you look at the reports that comes out. You have that increasing, but then we're having pass rate in these specific lessons that is dropping, and it's very important for us to try and find a middle ground somewhere there, because that same parent has to go and create exercises. That same parent has to come back from work at whatever time, but then if we then give them a platform that is cheaper than what you would actually have to pay if you needed to pay a tutor every day or every second day for them to do what they have to do, then you are putting a certain label. And when you look at label that kid who loves playing games and you try and merge the two with the game aspect into that, then you try and get his interest and then have him do for an hour. So some of the clients that we have, one of a good example is there's this one parent that told me that she has now a schedule where she gives her child 1 hour on the tablet, and within that hour, a child needs to actually just be on that game. No other game, no Instagram, no whatever. The child needs to do the exercises on the game as she's progressing. And now she's in grade 6 now. So we also look at those cases and see, can we then use these cases to see how well she's going to improve in the next year, and so on. And the reason why this is also very much accessible for a learner in whatever remote area is because the videos are offline. They are very small in size. They do not need to connect to any internet connection. And the assessment as well, all the report is done on the application without having it to go through whatever internet connectivity for you to actually get your report and feedback, which is where we believe that with all the many children or the many people that are actually in refugee camps and all of that could actually still benefit from it when you have good partnerships with NGOs and whatever, and not necessarily expect them to be all the time connected to actually have the content that is, which content that lives quite long. So that is what Static City does, and relieve the parent and improve the learner's numeracy. One of the some of the challenges that I had when I was coming up with the application, or when I was building it, the first version, which was started or conceptualized around 2016, despite the various back and forth in terms of figuring out the best way to approach this with the Department of Education and the endless meetings, which never led anywhere, which then had to lead us also into finding ways that we would actually be growing and then getting funding to build all of these, and also the other work that we had. That had caused last year, when we finally decided to then complete it and push it, there is a lot of physical and emotional toll onto building a product, and it is important as a pool of developers for people to also speak about that and share how much this can actually be quite destructive into either relationships or other things because of how much we get so focused in it. But with the right support around you, you then end up doing amazing, and that's great. Additional technical integrations was also one of the biggest issue because of the platform, that the engine that we use for the product, because initially it is not like a Microsoft Word. So you have certain elements that are of mathematical aspect which you cannot necessarily put in there, because you then have to recreate it by yourself somehow. So that those were things that would delay us to a certain extent. Managing clients versus products, growing the team, those were also challenges that we actually faced, and that what we had to deal with before releasing the application. The technology that was used is Unity 3D. This is I have a great friend. I have a great friendship with the guys at Unity that I had met in the past years in some of the game events overseas. And it's also a platform that I found was very easy to give you something that is robust and something that you can have long term, something that you can build and make money out of, and build once and being able to publish on multiple platforms. So on that front, it helps us also reduce the costs from our side to try and do many things. And then we had, okay, thank you. So we also used Firebase for database and also the push notification, and integrate it into Unity, and being able to also use that for when someone registers, because you need to register on the app. When if you're considering getting the reward, because we do a verification process by contacting the guardian and requesting for information from the bank, where we were actually going to make the payment. So all that needs to be to have registration set up for that. The application is available on Google Play, on the App Gallery, Huawei, and also on the App Store. And that's the email address that you can use to contact us, and the phone number as well, and our website, where you will find all the other information regarding the application. And we now planning on doing a physical tournament, which we will be running across across the regions first, and then the province, and then the country, which is what we're really hoping for. One of our biggest goal is to be able to have a learner go on static city maths, play the game, practice, do better, and then when they then compete with others, we are able to one day pay for their entire school fees as a reward. So that's the biggest plan that we have, and we are hopefully getting closer and closer to that. And we definitely want to have kids compete, get back onto that competitive nature of doing well at school, and not just being comfortable with the fact that, okay, now 30% is enough or 40% is enough, because then at that same time we are having less and less people attending these kind of events, because when they get to university they are not able to cope with the requirements that needs to have them to do software development or game development, and the pool keeps on getting small, and that becomes quite problematic. So we definitely hope that we'll get there, and we believe that we'll actually get there, and that will become just the way. Certain parent will find another way to just not only have to apply for a bursary, which will become quite complex, but push the learners, the kids, to play and learn and get rewards that can actually help them survive in the household. So that is it for me, and thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Kim. That was a very, very interesting presentation. And, for me, being a parent, I know how much time my daughter spends on the phone. So I would really, appreciate having more of these kind of games that are educational and fun at the same time. So I'm definitely going to use it. So before we open the floor for questions, I just wanted to remind everyone that so the purpose of these show and tell sessions is to basically give feedback to innovators, so that they can improve their applications and make them better. So, for apps that are available, Kim's app, we really request everyone to go to the App Store, download it, give it a try, and also give your honest feedback on the App Store. That would really be appreciated. So that's what we have to do, in order for Africa to churn out more applications that can basically compete on a global scale. We have to do it ourselves, and we want to use this platform, the Lepsta, events, tech talks, and show and tell, to basically encourage innovators and also show what they're working on to the public. So yeah, go ahead and download it, and give your best, or it doesn't have to be the best, just give your honest feedback on the App Store. Thank you so much, Kim. That's really interesting. So yeah, in the interest of time, we can open for questions, right, Choma?
Yeah, I have some question myself.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Kim. Let me just go right to the question. What is the timeline to build this type of project? How long did it take you to put all of this together?
I would say that the timeline also, differs with experience. However, application, if I have to remove all the other extra work that we often had to do because of how I described the company does, we had about between 2 to 3 months to have that done, and that was including the additional person that I had to outsource, or I had to hire at that time to actually do the videos, because I didn't do that myself. I would have loved to, but didn't have time to do everything. So if I had to remove the extra work that had to be put on from other clients, it would be 2 to 3 months.
Okay, so another question. How did you become a game developer? I know you talked about not doing very well in maths. That was one of the things that propelled you.
Yeah.
But what was the career transition like? I know you were doing something before, and how did you transition into what was that moment of truth for you when you finally decided to be a game developer?
Okay, should I be honest or should I use the lying story? I've got two stories.
Be honest.
Honest.
Okay, let me be honest. There's no one here. Well, anyway, there's always honesty. So I did first year when I went to varsity, I did graphic design, and then in the second year, then I had to choose between continuing in graphic design or doing multimedia. So I picked multimedia because the honest truth is that I felt that in multimedia you have a lot more work to do, animations, a bit of you've got motions, you've got 3D, you've got all of that. So I thought that no, graphic design is actually boring. I can't be going to and doing boring stuff. So I'm gonna do something that includes graphic design in it. Then I move forward with that. But then as I've always been going forward with the studies already in the second year when we were about to do that, I remember asking this one lecturer of mine that was supposed to give us animation. I told him that I've always wanted to actually make things come alive. I've always wanted to be my own little heaven and make things come to life. And I'm glad that now we're going to use Flash to actually create animations. And then he comes and he says that, oh, Flash is going to be discontinued in a couple of years, so we're already stopping doing it now. But I knew it was just an excuse because he was probably not good at Flash, but he was just, saying things. So then I started doing Flash at home because I was kind of upset that now we're not going to learn it. And then I wanted to do these kind of 2D animations. Then I realized that in Flash, you can actually start doing interactive stuff. But then because I didn't learn C#, I didn't learn JavaScript at school, it was a bit difficult because then you had to use scripting in certain areas to do certain things. And we only learned like HTML. Then moving forward, I just kept on saying, oh, I'm gonna try. And then when I went to my first job, after I finished, I was still looking at, but will I ever just be able to write code like like stay? Like I was just looking at all my friends. There was other people, and I'm like, can I actually do that? When I was in my first job, there, what I decided then to do was this is now the time where I'm going to have to learn and I'm not going to have excuses because I just did design. So in that first job, they were giving me things that I knew I could do in 2 days. So I was getting bored sometimes. So when they would give me something to do in 2 days, I would tell them that, okay, it's going to take me like a week. So I would do it in 2 days, and then the rest of the day I would be using the internet. I didn't have a very good internet at the time. I would use the internet to then just search, and then I stumbled upon Unity. And at that time, Unity was using a version of JavaScript, which was close enough to my understanding of HTML and CSS. And then I started with that, and then Unity says that in 2 years we're going to discontinue Unity script. So then I'm like, so now I'm stuck. I have to now just learn C#. And I just told myself, if you want to do it, you're gonna have to learn it. So I just started going on to tutorials and tutorials and tutorials and tutorials. And that's how I learned. But I've always wanted to do interactive stuff, things that move and other things. And game just turned out to be something that I found more attractive, and I just had to give it a try. So that's basically how it turned out. That boss doesn't know that I was using some of his time to learn my own stuff, so he must never know. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any other question?
The floor is yours. Anything really?
Hello. Hello, Kim. Kim, thank you so much for showing us the app. Actually, I have it open right now in front of me, and I'm very excited to actually go through it and see what are the other features. I've learned a lot from it, but the most important lesson that I've learned today is that you need to always ask yourself what is the reason why somebody will use your app. Like there must always be that. So I'm just thankful that I've actually learned something in terms of just development overall.
Thank you very much. The new features will be coming out next month, which include all the assessment that I spoke about. So we eventually hoping to have thousands and thousands of assessments that we can make available to learners so that they can be ready whenever they have to actually do the test that they have to do. So yeah.
Tell me, Kim, is there an age range for the maths, the level of maths that you have there? Is it
So
for, yeah?
the level is from 9 years old. I would say 9 years old to 15 or so. So we do find that that's why we put the bracket mostly within grade 5 to grade 9, mainly because you would find that someone could have been failing, and that is only because of not comprehending things right, and then they still within that bracket, and you just need to make sure that they can still fit in there and learn as much as they can. But overall it's open to beyond those ages, but for the reward we need to actually get a report from your school so that we can see if you're eligible between the 5 to 9.
There was a sneaky way to find out if I can score that 500 rands myself.
No, unfortunately. give me that report from school.
Okay. No, cool, man. I really love the app. It's easy to use. Do we have any other questions on the floor before we close?
It's not a question from my.
Is it me who's losing Mukonji?
Put together the.
Yeah, we're
Hello?
struggling to hear you, Mgonli.
We lost you for a minute.
Yeah, if you could also just get
I'm
closer
not sure
to the
if you
mic
can
a
hear
little
me
bit.
now.
Yeah, it's much better.
Okay, sorry about that. I just want to congratulate Kim.
Oh,
Yes, we lost you again.
the line is bad. And it sounds
I'm
like you're
sorry,
saying something very important.
Yeah, like I'll drop it maybe on the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. By the way, Mukonji is one of the people that are going to show one of their innovators in the next coming weeks. So tune in for that.
I just have another question, please.
Okay, please go ahead.
But for Emmanuel, I'm not sure if Emmanuel's still online.
He is muted. You're muted, Emmanuel, if you're talking.
Emmanuel, can you hear me?
Sorry, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay, great. Just a question, I guess, on behalf of the group as well. As a developer, how do you instill discipline to yourself to always focus on security? Because I've seen that the excitement and the thrill of building things could easily overcome even the best intentions of ensuring security among developers, which is why you start you can come across a lot of developers that haven't got a clue about how to secure their application or how to build secure applications. Nonetheless, they would consider themselves advanced developers. I'm just any comments on how you can instill that discipline on yourself?
Okay, yeah. So what I do, for example, when deploying solutions that we have to use security, what I do is I itemize. What I mean by itemize is I'm able to bring out a note even before I start, right? I would tell myself, okay, this is what I want to achieve when it comes to, as a developer in your case, when it comes to your code, this is what you want to achieve. When it comes to security, this is what you want to achieve. Now, there are many policies that you can use. Security policies, I think for ISO, I've forgotten the code, but there's an ISO standard that you can use to tell yourself, okay, for my security, I have to make sure that my SSL is installed well and your codes should be neat. And we have resources like npm. I'll type that on the chat. npm, okay, npm for JavaScript. Obviously, you know npm. They have some libraries for scanners, like we'll be able to audit your code. We'll be able to sanitize your code to bring out where there are vulnerabilities. So making use of such tools, fine, you might not pay attention fully to it, but making use of such tools will help you to automate things. Those things that you might forget will help you to automate. When you scan, it looks out for default words. Also look out for parameters that might be open. So the best way, I think, in my own opinion, that you can instill that discipline is by utilizing such resources that will help you automate things. Because the happiness of developing might make you forget to pay attention to security.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Emmanuel.
Okay. Chioma, are we ready to close?
Yeah.
If there are no other questions?
Yeah. So,
okay, all right. Okay, go ahead, Chioma.
So we are good to go. And if you are not following us on social media, please stay up to date, as we'll be sharing some more updates on our social media platform. And also, don't forget to share with other developers in your network and other people that are interested in learning stuff about technology. So, sorry.
Sorry, can I have a question?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Hi, I'm sorry. My question is for Kim. I just wanted to know, how are they making sure that it's the children who are taking the actual reward test or questions?
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for that. So when it comes to the tests, especially the exercises, there is one thing that we've set out to. There's just one ethical thing which we can't also control in among so many of other platforms, right? That you would know of, where as much as you would say that this movie is not for someone under the age of 18, there is a 15-year-old watching it. So we hope that parents can just see the consciousness about things, and at that point we have not figured out, to be honest, yet on what would be the various ways that we could make sure that someone at home who's practicing is actually a kid. So we just hope that the benefit of the practice and not just the money will be showing that. But that is why we're going to start with our on-site in-school tournament, and then there at least we can see who is attending the tournament and then who is going to go away with the reward, unlike the open one. So that's the only way we currently have as an option for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. We've come to the end of today's session. Please stay in touch. If you have further questions, please ask it in the Q&A text chat.